Can
you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? Okay. So welcome to Empower's yet another empowerment and reform program, Careers in Defense Services, with the Brigadier Syed Ahmed Ali Saab as the keynote speaker. He is a senior retired officer of the Indian Army. He was the ex-pro vice chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University and steering committee member of Empower. So I welcome you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you. So you may.
Thank you. Anybody else joining in, or shall we start off?
We can start. We have 30 participants for now.
How much time do I have, Angela, to speak?
Sorry?
How much time do I have to speak?
You can speak as much as you want. It's like 45 minutes or any time.
Let's see. I'd like to take on questions if there are any doubts or anything. Jai Hind, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any. It's a matter of honor for me to be speaking to you on as vital a job profile like joining the Defense Services of India. I speak to you with 35 years of service in the Army, besides that 5 years that I spent in Aligarh. I am a combat soldier, having been commissioned into the Kumaon Regiment of the Indian Army, a very well-known regiment which has bagged a number of Paramveer Chakras and Ashok Chakras. And I belong to the battalion which is one of the 7 most decorated battalions of the Indian Army. I was commissioned in 15 Kumaon, Indore. Fortunately, I got an opportunity to see all the combat and direct involvement in most of the combats that took place post 1971 war. When I'll be speaking to you, be rest assured that a soldier is addressing you and not a professor and not a commercial man. I sit before you not as an advertisement, but to tell you from my heart what exactly I felt about Army and how much I enjoyed about Army and why I want you also to join Army. And that is why I believe that most of my audience today would be those who are aspiring to join the armed forces. When I say armed forces, it does not only mean Army, it also includes the Air Force, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. Very few people know that Coast Guard is the 4th arm of the armed forces under the Ministry of Defense. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, there is a chance for you to earn glory for yourself. That glamour which comes with the armed forces and the growth and progression which armed forces brings to you. If you have it in you, sky is the limit. It is a very challenging career, extraordinarily challenging, provided you have that urge to excel. You may be wondering why this talk. I wanted to speak to you because most of our people are blissfully ignorant of what all is Army about. And how do you join the Army? How can you join the Army? I hope I am right on that. There is not much awareness about entry into the armed forces. Recently, I saw on the WhatsApp group the results of the National Defense Academy examinations. And people were lamenting that only 8 out of 662 were Muslims who were selected. Why do we lament? If we do not appear for the examination, who is going to select you? The first point is take a plunge. So that is the second reason why I want you to listen to me and decide to take a plunge. The third is that there is general withdrawal symptom within us. We operate from a fear of failure, that hopelessness that we may not get selected. If that is the thing, then you will not get selected. Unless you start with that belief, yes, I can do it, I will do it. And that belief should go up to the limit of what in Urdu is known as junoon. Unless you have that junoon in you, you will not be able to make it. Taking a half-hearted attempt, not studying, not doing physical effort, and expecting somebody will pick you up for the National Defense Academy or the Indian Military Academy, I'm sorry, it will not happen. The fourth thing which during my interaction with a lot of parents was that they are scared of sending their children in the armed forces. They feel if he goes to the army, he may be killed someday, something or the other. There is a general fear psychosis prevailing. Ladies and gentlemen, more people have died sleeping on the bed than fighting in the battlefield. Anybody who has read that famous book of Lord Wavell about the Burma campaign, he has said that only 3% of the people who actually participated, mind the words, actually participated in Burma campaign, actually fired. Not every soldier has got that good fortune to participate in an operation and then fire also at the enemy. So not everybody dies. It's just few odd people, unlucky I would call them, but then they end up as shaheed or martyrs who die. And the legacy that they leave behind them is something for the progeny and the offsprings to be proud of. That is what death should be like. That even after death, people must remember you, that you died a hero's death. How much every soldier wishes and prays for that. I will be covering basically my talk to motivate you. And also in doing so, spread the awareness amongst the young people as to how you can join the NDA. And if you miss NDA, how can you apply for the Combined Defense Services examination, which will take you to Indian Military Academy and the Officers Training Academy or the Naval Academy. I shall be touching upon the various criteria which is required for these admissions. I'll be rushing through the Air Force and Naval part because generally if you are clear about the Army enrollment, it is on the same lines. I'll also touch upon how to get into the Coast Guard if any one of you is interested. That life is also beautiful. Now, everybody is anxious to know, what if I join? What are the accrual benefits that I get? The first thing is that you get a sense of pride within you. That achievement that you are the few selected people of this huge population who have been picked to defend the nation. And that picking is not so simple and ordinary. It is not as a result of 15 minutes of half an hour interview. It is over a sustained period of time, over stages of test, that you are asked, come, join the NDA, or join the IMA, or join the OTA. Isn't it a matter of pride that till you die, you continue to call yourself by your rank? No other service allows you to write your rank except the armed forces. So even till my last breath, I'll call myself as Brigadier Ahmad Ali. This is a big privilege which the government of India gives to you. And it's a big honor that you get that. Every time your name is taken, you are addressed by your prefix. Imagine at 21 years of age, somebody becoming a class 1 gazetted officer. Is the fastest way to join a service in a class 1 gazetted post. Generally, all those who pass out from the National Defense Academy, by the time they are 21 or 22, they have got their commission and they start commanding lives. Isn't it a matter of honor that you are commanding human lives and not machines, not computers, not software, not vehicles, but actually you are playing with human lives? The government has entrusted you with hundreds of human lives to take care of. It's a great matter of pride. You have to lead them. It's the typical best example of leadership of human beings, where life and death is separated by milliseconds. If you are a good leader, you will save your men. If you are a poor leader, obviously what will happen, you understand. You know the social status which an army officer enjoys. Every assessment, everywhere, whenever called upon, what profession do you think is the best profession presently in the country? The army has got the highest number of votes. I'm sure you must have read in various journals. People have got deep respect. Even those who are not connected to the army have got deep respect for the army. And I have experienced in my life, the moment I tell somebody that I'm from the army, his entire nature of talking, his entire style of talking changes. And he becomes very courteous. You enjoy a social status which others envy. When you go to a senior government officer's office, the moment you tell him that you are Captain so-and-so, you will be offered a chair. The intangible benefits of being an army officer are enormous. Let's not count everything with the pay and perks. But let me also add that the pay and perks are fabulous today. It is very good. Whatever salary I got, I'm getting more than that as my pension. Am I not supposed to be happy than that? So the pay and perks are also very good. The quality of life of an army officer is something to be seen, to be believed. You come and stay in the officer's mess, have a meal in the officer's mess, then you realize that the five-star hotels are no match to the army officer's mess. Everything is so good. Everybody will salute you in the smartest possible manner. Everybody will address you in the most respectful manner. You command people's respect. The selection system, a lot of people have doubts on that, whether I'll be selected or not. Ladies and gentlemen, I only gave one exam, and that I was in my BA final year. And that was the Combined Defense Services examination. I stood 10th in the All India merit. My father was not an army officer. I did not come from a typical army background. But the system is so fair that there is no option but to select the best people. It is very objective system of selection. Do not have doubts at all. The next thing is the adventure. By joining army, you will see every part of the country where you cannot visit even, you would have seen. When my sons were 1 year old, I celebrated their first birthday on the banks of Pangongso Lake, which is very much in the news these days. You read every day about Pangongso Lake. I was looking at the photographs of our children's first birthday there. Imagine a small baby going to the Pangongso Lake and celebrating his first year. Every corner of the country you can see, for which you have to spend thousands and thousands of rupees, all free of cost. And not only you will see, your wife, your children, your dependents, everybody will be able to see that. There is a reasonable promotion prospect. But remember one thing, army is like an Eiffel Tower structure. You all know what is Eiffel Tower structure? So the top is a pinnacle. The base is broad. So they start with a big intake, but finally there can be only one general in the army. So it keeps tapering off. 10 ranks you have to cross before you become a full-fledged general. So don't worry, You have run the race. So what if you don't become a full-fledged general? Doesn't matter. You have done your bit. Be mentally prepared that at some place, at some point of time, you may be superseded. But that's all right. That's fair. Not everybody becomes Chief of Army Staff. Then there is an opportunity to serve abroad. I remember in 1977 as a second lieutenant, I was on the Indo-Pak border with my commanding officer, and I put my one leg across the boundary pillar. My commanding officer said, "Don't do that. The Pakistani sentry might shoot you." I said, "Sir, I know I've joined army. I will not be able to go abroad. So that's why now I can go home and tell them that I've gone abroad. I've been to a foreign country." But army has changed over these years. Today, most of the army officers get an opportunity to go abroad. They go abroad and they enjoy life abroad. They go for courses, they go for conferences, they go for various meetings. Things have suddenly changed. The amount of foreign visits which army officers now undertake is something which was not there 30 years back. You also have a chance to increase your academic qualifications. The army gives you full liberty and time to increase your qualifications. I myself added to 3 degrees while I was in the army, and I got study leave for that purpose, proper sanctioned study leave. So if you are keen in learning and progressing yourself, you are always welcome to apply for study leave after a certain amount of service, and you will get that. Post-retirement benefits are tremendous. It is as if you are continuing in service. I have retired 10 years back, but I seldom feel that I have retired. When I meet my old colleagues, or whether the young generation here in cantonment, everybody meets me with the same love and affection as if I am still serving. Plus the benefits of post-retirement, I will touch upon some later. These are the issues which really motivates you to go in for a career that is worth considering. If you are fond of adventure, like skydiving, sailing, para jumping, deep sea diving, come to army. It will make you do free of cost, no charges. And army would love you to do that. Similarly, the leave is plenty, which is the envy of many other services. In army, you get 60 days annual leave in a year and 20 days casual leave in a year. In addition to that, if you still require, there is something called furlough leave, which is 2 months every alternate year. I don't recall when I took 60 days of annual leave. It is hell of a lot. Quite a lot. 60 days, imagine rotting at your house in the village. You don't know what to do after 1 month. So 60 days, quite a lot. No civil service will give you 60 days leave. Then you also get leave travel concession, not only for yourself, but for your complete family, including if you've got your parents, if you've got an unmarried sister or a widowed sister, they're also part of your family. And you can take them to Andaman Nicobar Islands, you can take them to Lakshadweep, you can take them to Srinagar on a summer holiday. The travel concessions are quite a lot. You get, besides your railway warrant, you get something what is known as Form D, where you can travel with your family, and you are entitled to 3 sets of Form D in a year. Besides this, you get canteen facilities. You must have all heard about canteen. You must have all requested some known person कि एक suitcase ला दीजिएगा हमारे लिए canteen से. Why is it so? It is because the army canteens are the cheapest in the country. Nobody, no shop, none whatsoever can match the prices of army canteens. But they are strictly for the army canteen, and control is being exercised that these items are taken only by the bona fide holders of passes, which they are entitled to. Then you have got a life insurance cover. As a soldier, I am automatically insured for 75 lakh rupees as an officer. 70, if I die, my NOK will have a jolly good time with 75 lakhs. And then even after retirement, for some years, the army gives you an insurance cover. You can encash your leave. If you don't want to avail 2 months leave every day, you can encash every month, every year, one month. You can add it up to 300 days in a year. 300 days money you will get at the time of retirement, which works out quite a lot. Today, we have just seen 7th pay commission. By the time some of you will join, will see at least 10th pay commission. So imagine that what the 10th pay commission salary will be. You will get 300 days salary for that. You get access to the best clubs. How many of you have been to DSOI Delhi, Dhaula Kuan? If you have not been, those who are from Delhi, someday just walk inside and see what all is there. It's a great life. It's a fun-filled life. So when we are free from our duties, we enjoy the evenings in the club. It's a total, and we get membership of counter clubs also all over the country. Like if you are a member of DSOI, you'll become member of the Bombay Gymkhana or such like that. So there is a reciprocal membership of clubs once you become an army club member. Then you are entitled to free medical facilities, both during your service tenure and even after retirement. There is an organization which came up in 2004 called ECHS, Ex-Servicemen Health Scheme. It looks after all the retired people. And they will send you wherever it is required, whether the cost is, whether the treatment can be in Medanta or Apollo or whichever hospital, irrespective of the cost, you will get free treatment there. You don't have to worry for that. The emoluments are not bad. With the 6th pay commission, the emoluments suddenly improved and improved for good. At the moment, a starter who is just a second lieutenant will get something to the tune of about 52,000 rupees. That is basic pay, plus the DA, plus the allowances. If you are serving in high altitude, you get another fantastic allowance. If you are serving in counter-insurgency area like Kashmir or Nagaland, you get another allowance. So it adds up quite a lot of money per month. And if you're a bachelor, then you don't know how to spend that money. It's quite a lot of money. Don't worry about pay. You get DA as it is revised from time to time. You get uncongenial climate allowance, you get high altitude allowance, you get counterinsurgency allowance, as I just told you. Then you are also entitled in a peace station transport allowance. If the government cannot provide you a jeep or a gypsy, they will give you a transport allowance. Then you are entitled to every 7 years outfit allowance. That is your dress allowance, which is also a decent amount. Then you are entitled to kit maintenance allowance. All that brasso which you put on your stars and all that, you get money for that, to do that. Every course that you attend, there is some allowance for that, some money for that. So that is a good incentive for you to do that. If you are a pilot and you are flying helicopters or some other aircraft, you will get flying pay, which is also a very good amount. I'm sure with all these perks and privileges, there will be hardly anybody who doesn't want to join the army. Is there anybody? I can't see any hand, but I'm sure everybody will love to join army, or you will love to send your sons and daughters and brothers into the army. The army has opened up for girls also, and the girls are doing a fabulous job. They are being trained at the Officers Training Academy at Madras. I'll talk about them also subsequently. Now let's see how you get into this. Ye sab to hai laddu, but how do you get that laddu? Right. I'll start with the school stage. They say catch them young. The army believes in that. So the first, if I would like to send my son, the first and the best place I would consider it to send him to the Royal Indian, what is now known as Rashtriya Indian Military College in Dehradun. RIMC for short. In British days, it was known as Royal Indian Military College. And that is why the products of that college call themselves as Rimkolian. Some of the senior officers, including chiefs of army, have been produced by this college. This college takes you when you are between 11 and a half and 13 years of age. and it will take you in class 8. There is a written test for that. And if you clear that, you will get, thereafter it's all government which will pay for you, look after you. And you start wearing olive green dress right from the school days itself. Imagine an 8th standard boy wearing military uniforms. That is one avenue. The second is what is known as Rashtriya military schools. Rashtriya military schools, earlier they were known as King George Military School. There are 3 in India. One is in Bangalore, the other is in Child, and 5. There are 5. The third one is in Ajmer, fourth one is in Dholpur, and fifth one is in Belgaum in Karnataka. These are also very good schools, very old, and products are known as Georgians because it was opened during the reign of King George, and that's why they are known as Georgians. Now the name stands as Rashtriya Military College. They take students in class 6 and again in class 10. Class 11, sorry. So there are 2 scopes of joining this. Just as in Aligarh Muslim University, you have got class 6 admission, class 9 admission, class 11 admission. Similarly, in RI, in Georgian schools, you can either think of joining in class 6 or you can join in class 11. The age and all is written. If you are interested, just type this out on your computer, search for it, and you'll get all the details as to how the admissions take place. There is a written examination followed by interview. Again, a very safe bet of sailing into NDA through this. This is one route of getting into NDA, National Defense Academy. The third is Sainik School. Every state has got at least 1, and some states have got 2. In my native state, I am in Lucknow. There is 1 in Lucknow. There is 1 in Jhansi. And the third one is going to get open very soon. That will be in Gorakhpur. Similarly, every other state like Bihar has got in Nalanda and Tilaiya. Uttarakhand has got in Gorakhal. Gorakhal is near Nainital. These are also avenues to send you to NDA. And a lot of army officers are from Sainik schools. They take admissions for class 6 and class 9. If you want to send your younger brother or anybody else, think about this. These are the 3 school intakes which leads on you to the National Defense Academy. Now, I'll come on to the main institutions which train you. The first is, what do you do after you've cleared your 10+2 examination? That is, after 10+2, you can apply for the National Defense Academy, or you can join the technical entry scheme if you've got maths and physics with you. I'll talk about National Defense Academy. The exams are held twice in a year, March and October. Because of the COVID, this time the session was disturbed, and it was held very recently in September. Otherwise, twice the exams are held by the Union Public Service Commission. The age for National Defense Academy is 16.5 to 19.5. That means if you are going to be the youngest in the course, you should be 16.5 years old. The younger you join, the better prospects you have in the army. You can be from any discipline, but if you want to join Air Force and Navy, then you must have in your 12th standard physics and mathematics. You should be unmarried, and at the end of your degree, at the end of your 3-year training in NDA, you will be awarded a degree from Jawaharlal Nehru University, either BA or BTech. I don't know how many of you have seen NDA. I request you, whenever you get an opportunity to visit Pune, take time off to visit NDA. It is just about 20 kilometers from Pune city. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. One of the finest academies in the world. It is comparable in terms of privileges and facilities to the best academy, including West Point in America, including Sandhurst. It's in a huge area. Please do find time. You will be inspired to see what a beautiful academy has been created. So 3 years you do training in NDA, and then you pass out from NDA. And if you are an army cadet, it trains all. It trains Air Force, it trains Navy, it trains Army. So if you are going to Army, you will go to Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, where you will undergo another 1 year specialized Army training. And you will get your commission from the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. Are you with me? So after 4 years of hard work, you will become a lieutenant in the Army. Earlier, it used to be second lieutenant. That rank has been done away with. So now your first rank in the Army is lieutenant. If you want to join the technical branches of the Army, you can join the Corps of Engineers, which is based in Pune. You can join Corps of Signals, which is based in Mahu near Indore, or you can join Electronics and Mechanical Engineers, which are in Secunderabad. So that is known as TES entry, Technical Entry Scheme. So you can go to any of these places for similar training. It starts with 1 year at OTA and 3 years at the respective cadet training wing. That is, if you have decided to join the Corps of Signals, you will do 3 years training at Mahu in Indore. Similarly, if you have decided to join the Corps of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers, EME, then you will go to Secunderabad. All that is required of you is that you should be 10 plus 2 pass, and you should have had physics, chemistry as your subjects in the 12th standard. Age is the same, 16 and a half to 19 and a half. Imagine you will get a degree. You will get a degree in engineering without spending a penny, including your food, your messing, your living, and that top class. Have a taste of any cadet's mess food. It is simply top class. The breakfast, the everything is so good. It is something you'll be envying it. I wish I'm here in place of the cadets. You will love to join them. Now I come on to the graduate entries. Supposing you have been unlucky and you could not make the cut for these, then for you, the first place is the Indian Military Academy. This is a 1.5 year training at the IMA, and it is all for unmarried candidates. You should be between 19 and 24 years of age, and you should have done your graduation. You should have completed it before you join that. Even if your results are not declared, you can join provisional so long as you have appeared the examination and somebody has told you that you have passed. This is also twice a year. You can take it through the Combined Defense Services Examination, CDS as it is popularly known as. So those of you who missed the NDA or did not take NDA attempt, you still have time after BA or BSc or BCom to go through this route to the end. There is no loss of seniority. There is nothing. I mean, it makes no difference between the NDA intake and this intake. It makes just no difference. The second is Short Service Commission Non-Technical. This is a commission for which training is carried out for 49 weeks at Officers Training Academy, Chennai. 49 weeks, it's a very intense dose. You should be between 19 and 25 years of age. And the exams are twice in a year in April and September. This is for girls also. So at Chennai, both boys and girls undergo training. You should be a graduate from a recognized university. And as I said, you should be unmarried. This is also a good scheme. You will be granted a short service commission for 10 years. And after 10 years, if you are not selected for permanent commission, you will be given an extension of 4 years. So you can serve for 14 years. And there are enough avenues outside. Those who are released have done very well for themselves even when they left the army. So that is one entry. Earlier it used to be 5 years short service commission. Now the government has made it to 10 years. The next one is NCC Special Entry Scheme. This NCC special entry scheme again is for boys and girls both. Those of you who have done your NCC C certificate, you can apply for this. There is no written examination. So one battle is over, that you are free from written examination. You will only have to face the services selection board. It is 19 to 25 years of age that you can apply for, but you should have an NCC C certificate with you. Now coming on to the graduate technical entries, there are a lot of technical entries going on in the army these days, because army is also becoming very, very technical. The short service commission technical is open to both boys and girls, that is men and women, and you should be between 19 and 27 years of age. Again, 2 semesters, twice the admissions take place, and you go to OTA Madras for a 49-week training. Similarly, there is a technical graduate course for engineers. If you have done your engineering from engineering college and you want to join army, this is the course for you. Technical graduate course. You get 2 years anti-date seniority. This is a fantastic thing. Imagine with your course mates, you become 2 years senior when you are commissioned. The government gives you that leverage because you have spent 4 years in doing your engineering course. So they say, isko 2 saal senior bana. So you become 2 years senior compared to your course mates. Then there are many other entries which have got few vacancies, but nonetheless there are. I'll just rush through them. One is the Army Education Corps, the people who teach the Jawans and all. For that, you have to be between 23 and 27 years of age, and you are trained at IMA for 1 year. The next is the Judge Advocate General. So if you're a lawyer, if you have done your LLB, you can join the army in the, this is applicable for both men and women. So a lot of girls have joined the JAG branch in recent years. The next is the Territorial Army Scheme. You know there are a lot of Territorial Army battalions. So these officers who wish to serve in Territorial Army, that age span is very high, 18 to 42 years of age. Now, most of these people who join TA Commission are already working somewhere. So it is up to them how long they want to work in the Territorial Army Battalion. Otherwise, they revert back to their permanent cadre. Somebody is in the bank, somebody is elsewhere, somebody is like that. Within the army, there are enough avenues for promotion. But since none of you have joined the army as yet, I will not labor much on that. For example, there is a PC commission, SL, special. Those are only for those who are already in the army, but for some reason could not become officers. So if they want to join, they can join. Now, I'll quickly go through the Air Force a little bit. NDA is the main route for Air Force also. If you want to join the flying branch or any of the branches of the Air Force, go through NDA, same way 3 years at NDA and 1 year at Air Force Academy. Then there are graduate entries also for the Air Force entries. If you want to know more details, you can go on the site, Recruiting Directorate site, and you will get all the details as to how to get through the Air Force. Then one new aspect which has come up in about a decade or so is the Coast Guard. Coast Guard is a fledgling arm, and it is mostly, as the name implies, it's along the coast of India. They've got headquarters, one I know for sure is in Port Blair. Now the Coast Guard, the difference between Coast Guard and other arms is that they have quota for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes also. There's some reservation for them, unlike in others. Here, there's some reservation for, they have got general duty officers. This Coast Guard operates in tandem with the Navy. Their senior hierarchy are from the Indian Navy, but now they have started having senior officers who have been directly taken into the Coast Guard. Then they've got aircrafts also, so therefore they require pilots, they require navigators, and also they take commercial pilot license holders. So if you have got a CPL from Safdarjung Airport or something like that, you can think of joining the Coast Guard. You have to be between 19 and 25 years of age. Then they have got for law entry also, just like JAG branch of the army, they have got this also. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so much so for the entries into the army. This is one part that you qualify the written test. Another big hurdle, I won't call it hurdle, after all, people like you only cleared it, is the Services Selection Board. Do you want me to give a pause? Do you have any questions? Otherwise, I proceed on Services Selection Board. How the interviews are. Any questions on so far what I've spoken?
Sir, describe about Navy.
Pardon? Navy?
Yeah,
No,
sir.
as I said, Navy is through NDA. The main one is through NDA. And they have got also from CDS directly to Naval Academy, just as you have direct entry into the Air Force. Understood? I'll tell you, first is the NDA. For Navy, first is the NDA, 3 years at NDA and 1 year at Indian Naval Academy, Cochin. Then there is also a technical entry scheme for the Navy, just like Army. Just like Army, you've got a technical entry scheme for the Navy also. Both of them take only unmarried candidates, and both the age is 16 and a half to 19 years. Please remember this, age is very, very important. They will not give you even 1 day concession if you are outside this limit. So before you even think of applying, calculate your age, how old are you? And this age is applicable on the first day of the course. The day the course starts at that academy, you should not be less than 16 and a half or more than 19 years of age. Then you have got graduate entries in the Navy, and it also has got a special entry for NCC people like in Army. So as I said earlier, it is just the same. The mode of entry is the same. Understood? You have got a university entry scheme also for the Navy. 1 year is the for executive branch and 6 months for other branches. The Navy, just as Army, I forgot to tell you that the Army is divided into a combat arm and services. Combat arms are those like infantry, armored, mechanized infantry, Army air defense, artillery. These are combat arms. And the supporting services are like EME, Ordnance, AMC, ASC. These are supporting services. Similarly, in Navy also, the main branch is the executive branch. And then they've got other also. And the executive officer is known as XO. XO. And there are other elements also in the Navy which will look after the maintenance of the ship. Somebody who looks after the signals of the ship, the communication in the ship. Those are called technical branches. So the entire armed forces are into combat arms and combat support arms. I hope I've made myself clear. There are people who indulge into combat, who go into combat, and there are people who back them up, who support them in that combat. Anything else? Okay, should I carry on? Okay, I'll quickly go through this Services Selection Board. There are 3 Services Selection Board for getting into the Army. One is at Allahabad, the other is at Bhopal, and the third is at Bangalore. So as soon as your NDA or CDS results are declared, you will get a letter from the Union Public Service Commission and from the Army headquarters asking you to turn up at so-and-so place on so-and-so date on so-and-so time. So what you do is, say you were told to come on 1st October to Allahabad SSB, you will go to the railway station MCO. There is a man at the railway station, a military detachment called as Movement Control Officer. You go and report to him. He will make you sit there. He will give you a glass of tea or something there. And then a vehicle will come from the SSB and take a whole lot of people who have arrived by various trains and take them to the Services Selection Board. Now, SSB is for a period of 5 days. Please remember, ये एक दिन का खेल नहीं है. It's a longish interview. You must be wondering, what do they do in 5 days? They check you upside down, inside out. They see your psychological bent of mind. They see your mental makeup. They see whether you can fit into a team or not. Are you a selfish man or you are a team member? Can you lead a group of people? Are you intelligent enough? Are you having the leadership skills? All that is seen essentially by three people. One is called interviewing officer. The second is called group testing officer. An officer who takes you outdoors and he sees you doing group tasks and he just watches you doing that. And the third very important man is called psychologist. He reads into your psychology. He doesn't talk. He will not interact with you, but he is listening to you all the time. And wherever you go, he'll be moving. Your interview commences the moment you have reached at the gate of the services selection board. Everybody is watching you. You are given a chest number. So I am no more Ahmad Ali. I am chest number 10. Supposing my chest number is 10, it is written on a piece of cloth which I am supposed to wear on my chest and on my back all 24 hours when I am inside the services selection board. And everybody keeps a note on your chest number only. So if you are acting funny or difficult in the mess, or if you are misbehaving outside and you think that I'm not in the interview at the moment, your number is being noted by somebody. That somebody may be a clerk, that somebody may be a room bearer, that somebody may be even a cook. So please behave yourself the moment you have been given a chest number. Remember that you are now through the interview for 5 days. You cannot afford to misbehave there when you are wearing the chest number. Now, what does the interviewing officer do? He is checking your intelligence. He is checking your reading habits. He is checking your general knowledge. And he is going to give you a very objective assessment. Okay, how much depth do you have in you? He is generally of the rank of a colonel or sometimes brigadiers. Then there's a group testing officer, a major or a lieutenant colonel, who takes you on ground and makes you do various obstacle courses, and he gives you difficult tasks. He gives you a problem on the ground. Okay, you have to take your team across this nala. How will you take them? Or you've got some problem. How will you resolve it? And he's noting that. He will make you talk amongst yourselves, amongst your colleagues who have come for interview, and he'll be just observing how are you in responding to your colleague. And as I said, psychologist's job is only to judge your mind. He is going to read. And let me also tell you that if the psychologist says no, the other two guys cannot say yes. The psychologist's decision is very, very important. And therefore, please improve your thinking, your way of analyzing a problem, your camaraderie, your friendship, your ability to help others. If you can do that, the psychologist is looking for you. Now, what happens is on day one when you arrive, you are taken to a hall and you are put through a test. This is called a screening test. Immediately when you arrive, you will not be given much time. Go and dump your luggage at a place and come for the test. This is verbal and non-verbal reasoning test. These tests are conducted by showing you a picture on the screen. One picture will be shown for a few seconds, and then you are told to write a story on that picture. This is immediately when you have arrived for the interview. Then you have to make a story and narrate that story to the group. Aapne kya dekha us picture se, what did you deduce? And there will be a group discussion with other colleagues. They'll make a group with 5, 10, 15 of you sitting there, and they will discuss on that picture. They'll see your confidence, application, and communication skills. Communication skill is extremely important in Army. I'm sure all of you who have interacted with Army officers would have noticed one thing, that at least they can communicate clearly, concisely, and directly. No waffling, no saying, I mean, oh, I see, nothing of that sort. Straight talking, and this is what is laid stress on. Then those candidates who are recommended to be retained are told to go inside the barracks, and those others are told to bye-bye, good night, go home. Imagine you arrived this morning only, and in the evening you are given your move order, please return back to your home. It's very shocking. But almost 60% of the candidates are told, okay, bye-bye. So if there are 100 candidates, only 40 candidates are retained for the main interview. So the main interview will be for 40 candidates now. That starts on day 2. Now on day 2, first thing is a psychological test. There is a thematic perception test. You will be shown 12 pictures on the screen and you will be told to write stories on those pictures. The aim is to see you how strong psychologist you are, how good you can write, how can you wield your pen so well, and what positive thinking you have in you. For example, they'll show you an accident between a truck and a Tonga, and there's a horse which is lying dead, there's a man who is lying injured and bleeding. There is nobody to explain to you, but you will have to now write a story. They want to see if you were there on the scene of accident, what would you have done seeing this scene? After seeing this accident, what would you have done is the aim of that test. So you will be shown 11 pictures and the 12th picture will be a blank screen. There will be no picture in there. And you have to imagine a story and write. Again, they are testing your positivity. The armed forces require very positive thinking people. People who are team people, who work as a team. Then there is a word association test. 60 words are shown for 50 seconds in a flash, and you are asked to write a meaningful sentence of that. So those of you who are good in making sentences, quickly, you don't have much time to think. Then situation reaction test. This is a big booklet which contains 60 different questions and 60 different situations. And you will be given a time of 30 minutes to answer those questions. And there is a self-description test. They want to know from you, what are you? Write about yourself. Describe yourself. Don't start all writing praises for yourself. Write some of your positives and some of your weaknesses also. Because be rest assured, in next 4 days, they will see that thing themselves in you. So no point in bluffing. My sincere advice to all of you who are aspiring for SSBs, please do not think of bluffing. Those people who are interviewing you are much experienced. They have been trained especially for this task and they have seen the whole world. So please do not think that you can bluff and get away with it. You will be caught at some point of time. While these tests are going on, some people are called by the interviewing officer to his office for interview. So the concurrently 2 things are going on. One is a test here and the others are appearing for the interviewing officer. Now on the 3rd day, there is a group testing task officer who comes into play. He'll take you outside. First thing he'll do is he'll make 2 groups out of you and he will give you a topic, current affairs generally or social issues. And he'll say, discuss amongst yourself loudly. He will listen to you. He'll only hear you. He again is trying to see how good you are in communication, how positive you are in thinking, and how are you fitting in a team. Does the team accept your point of view? या आप अपने ही कहानी सुनाए जा रहे हैं and the team is not agreeing with you. So you have to toe a middle path, a path which is generally going to be acceptable to all. Then there is a group planning task, which they will give you a situation with a model and they'll ask you to find solution to the problem. Then there is a progressive group task. As you do one, the other will be more difficult, the third will be more difficult, fourth will be more difficult, like that. And finally, there will be a snake race or a group obstacle race. The candidates have to do these group obstacles. You should be able to climb vertical ropes, do monkey rope, you should be able to crawl, you should be able to do all the obstacles which are being laid out there. At no point of time you should say, I cannot do that. There are a lot of people who cannot do monkey rope. I hope you've all seen a monkey rope. It's a horizontal rope like this, and you have to hang down below this and cross from one end to another like a monkey. So these are Burma bridge is there and vertical rope is there. Straight you have to climb with both your hands. Simple, people are doing it, but don't give up any of these obstacles. Then there's a lecturette also there. You are required to give a talk of 3 minutes on any topic that you feel like. The choice is yours. 3 minutes you speak. Again, they see your confidence. They see what sense are you talking. They'll see what is the clarity of your mind and thought, all those things. And finally, the individual obstacles, which I said, there will be 10 obstacles. 10 obstacles on ground. That includes crawling, running, climbing the rope, doing monkey bridge, doing monkey rope, doing Burma bridge, and things like that. Not difficult at all. Young people all can do it. So this is there. And on the fourth day, there will be a group testing task under the GTO. He will give you a task. That man is a major or a lieutenant colonel, and he will give you a group of people to you, and you detail your subordinates how to go about doing your task. The aim is to see as a leader, how can you control your group? How do you delegate tasks to your subordinates? And they will all obey you. Because unka bhi number aana. After you have finished as a group leader, somebody else will become a group leader. And then there is a final group task as a team. As a team, how will you perform that task? These are all outdoors. So that takes you to day 5. Now, it is such a fair selection that on the 5th day, you all will be collected in a big hall, and one by one, you will be called in front of the board of officers who have tested you. They will see you for 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then you go back and sit in your hall. Then one officer from the testing board will come and he will announce the result. Imagine how quick it is. It's not that kal batayenge or the results will be put up on the internet or anything like that. He'll come with a piece of paper with the chest numbers. So he said chest number 10, 25, 31, 7. These have been selected. Please stay put. The rest can take your movement order and go home. Now those who are selected are put through medical tests. This is the third step in your selection. The medical test is at a military hospital, which is nearest. And you will be subjected to at least 3 to 4 days of medical test. It is in great detail, very great deep detail. They'll check you thoroughly. I mean, X-ray and ECG and your heart and your lungs and everything, blood and stool and urine and everything, your ENT and everything. Once you clear that also, you are found fit, then a merit list is drawn. A final merit list based on the marks that you have achieved in written and based on the marks you have achieved at the SSB. These are totaled up and a merit list is drawn. And based on the vacancies at NDA or IMA, you will be asked to join. Some of them are sometimes placed as a reserve or a waiting, but generally most of them make it to the final list. This is your last phase when the merit list is announced and declared. Understood? Well, that's all that I want to tell you. If you have understood what I wanted to tell you, then get cracking. Start reading a lot. Start practicing English. I found the biggest weakness of our boys is English. That's the Waterloo of our boys. A few days back, somebody came to meet me. He was going for interview and he wanted me to coach him for the interview. I said, don't forget to carry 2 knickers with you. Don't forget to carry 2 knickers with you. He says, what is a knicker, sir? Imagine, he was a BTech. He was an engineering graduate. And he's asking me, what is a knicker? We are very poor in English. And our main Waterloo is English. If you want to join army, start talking English, start thinking in English, start reading in English, and start practicing spoken English. If you have friends who are confident in English, please befriend them more. And whenever you sit, don't talk in your local lingo. Speak to them only and only in English. Understood? You will realize that in SSBs, even the waiters understand English. They speak in English. So why not you? After all, any one of us who's listening here can speak in English. Why cannot Y also speak in English? Or Z also cannot speak in English? It's not a difficult language. If it was difficult, it wouldn't have become a worldwide language. It is not. But for some reason, we abhor the language and We are very contented with using very flowery Urdu or very tough Hindi, but we don't ignore English. Very few of us read a good newspaper every day. I implore you, start reading a good newspaper. I leave the choice with you, lest I may be described as the agent of that newspaper. You can decide which newspaper you want to read. You can decide which magazine you want to read. Have a dictionary to your bedside. Leave your mobile for some time. For God's sake, if you want to be serious for NDA or IMA, keep your mobile aside. Fortunately, when I appeared, there was no mobile. But I request you, don't look everything in your mobile. Start reading and read extensively. Your motto should be every month one novel, one good book written by a famous author you must buy and make your own library. You must be a voracious reader. You'll be surprised how much army officers read. Don't think that once you become a second lieutenant, zindagi paar ho gayi. No, sir. You will have to appear for a number of examinations. Every rank carries an examination. You will not get another rank until you clear that examination. Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Then you have staff college. Then you have got higher command. Then you have got LDMC, higher defense management course. So the army forces you to teach. There was a point in time when I was studying statistics from my sons. I was doing higher defense management course where there was a paper on the statistics and I didn't know ABCD of statistics. I had to take the services of my sons who were doing engineering that time. So don't have that idea that I am now selected in army, padhai kinare ho gayi, kitab kinare ho gayi. No. Then you will be left behind. You may get a rank up to time scale colonel. But I must also tell you that the least rank that you will retire in is a colonel. Things have improved. Earlier on, major was the rank which was very common in people retiring as a major. But now the government has relaxed rules, so they'll take you up to, so if you're rendered around 24 years of service, you will go home as a colonel. So don't worry, it's a good rank. But if you want to go beyond that, then you have to study. Develop a habit of reading. You will not go to sleep without reading for 1 hour every night. It can be anything, but do read. Be a voracious reader. My appeal to you is this. That's the best way to improve your skills of writing and communication. All right? Any question? I have finished.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very well explanation. I now invite for open house questions. Do we have any questions? No questions? Everybody has understood everything. So,
I think either they have understood everything or they have understood nothing.
I'm sure they've understood everything, sir. You explained it so well. And I was like really amazed because I could remember my SSB days. I said, you said it to the point, sir. They couldn't have been a better person in a better manner explaining. I mean, you all are very lucky, by the way. Everyone who are listening, the aspirants are very lucky. They have the best person. No one could have explained this in a much better manner. I think all those days coming back to me, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you so much.
Sir, Arshi is speaking, sir. Arshi. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Switch on your
Assalamu
camera.
alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Sir,
Switch on your camera.
sir, I am driving car and I was listening to you. So that is the issue. But anyway, sir, I heard your whole lecture. Thank you so very much for inviting me. And sir, I have been very fortunate that I worked under you for almost 2.5 years time. And it was such a lovely, not I would say lecture, a counseling session delivered by you. But I have a question, and that question is, sir, somewhere the difference lies between Hindi medium background students and English medium background students. So what do we need to do if we have been, unfortunately, I would say, a Hindi medium student? English is poor and English will be poor. As I have come to know that you have passed out from your intermediate from CBSE board, and it was a first class college. But unfortunately, we had not been a part of that first class college. So what we need to do, sir? That is my question to you. Though I'm driving, but I'm listening, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a question which concerns all of us. Uh, I'm glad that nowadays mothers have realized the importance of English. More than the fathers, the mothers have started realizing. When I was Sub-Area Commander Lucknow, I remember one woman came to my house in the evening in Burqa, and she said, I want to make my child as an engineer. Can you get him admission in Kendriya Vidyalaya? I said, where's your husband? He says, my husband is selling apples in Sadar Bazaar. He has got a thela and he sells apples on that. I was so touched by that woman's initiative that I rang up the principal and I said, yeah, do whatever you feel like, but please admit this boy. His mother is after him, and anybody whose mother is after him will definitely make it. I would sincerely, in every talk of mine, I have been requesting mothers to help their children in rising above, because the amount of time a child spends with his mother, neither the father can afford to spend that much of time, nor he gets that time. So the best friend of a child is the mother. And if the mother can do it, I would suggest starting from home. And now that our education level amongst girls has improved quite a lot, I'm sure that when they become mothers, they will bring up their children. But for the time being, I would sincerely advise also not to run after the coaching schools. I never went to any coaching center. I never went to any coaching center. You can have it in you. I mean, you just, मैं कैसे हो एक जुनून पैदा करिए अपने अंदर कि मुझे ये बनना है, and you will become. Only you need that junoon, that trigger in you. Yeah, I have to become this, and you will become it. English, as I said, is not difficult. You have to read, and read. All the time you have to read.
Sure. So, since we have with us Major Mohammed Ali Shah, would you like to share some of your experience from the from army life?
Oh, thank you, Angela. Sir, with your permission, may I just...
Oh yes, all yours, all yours. I've finished.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Adab, Assalamu Alaikum, and Jai Hind. You know, I could connect every single thing with what Brigadier Ahmed Ali spoke just now. And I was really amazed that it's been a while since Brigadier Ahmed Ali had done it at SSB and gone for the training in the army. I'm relatively I mean, I'm very fresh that way, if you see. It's been, what, 17 years for me now, since I gave my SSB, 18 years actually.
And 43 years for me.
Sir, exactly. That's exactly what I was coming to, sir. And if you ask me today to speak about I can tell you but sir gave it bang on, bang on. So let me tell you about, what I recollect. In fact, it's not different than what sir spoke at all, but I'll share some really funny anecdotes with you all. After my 12th, I had appeared for the NDA, the National Defense Academy. I failed in the entrance test. I couldn't get through the NDA. So I wanted to join the army. So I did my graduation and I thought, okay, let me go to the OTA, the Short Service Commission. So I went for my graduation to Pune because NDA was there in Pune, in Khadakwasla. Also the FTI was there, the Film and Television Institute of India was there in Pune. And my father was an alumni of NDA and my uncle, Mr. Nasiruddin Shah, is an alumni of Film Institute Pune. So I saw both the lights from close and I decided I want to get best of both worlds. Ye bhi chahiye aur wo bhi chahiye. Now cutting a very long story short, since Brigadier Ahmed Ali said communication skills are very important, very important. Speaking English is different and being a good communicator is different. As Brigadier Ahmed Ali said correctly, I mean, it's exactly that. I'll tell you another story. In 2008, a friend of mine went off to Paris to perform a play over there. And before doing the play, he went on stage and he forgot how to address, how do you say ladies and gentlemen in French? So he said, bonjour, comment allez-vous? And he said, I forgot what ladies and gentlemen means. So he ran down to the stage, went and looked at where, ladies and gents, the washrooms, they've written over ladies. So he read over there ladies and gents. So he went back and he said, good evening, ladies' toilets and gents' toilets. So that's what communication does to you, because he misread that. And again, let me tell you one small thing. When we got commissioned, when we went for a training, we were asked the first thing, do you all love your hair? Yes, sir. Okay, I love my hair too. When I came for my training, but tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., a barber will come and give you all crew cuts. All waiting. Next morning, and there was a pull-up bar over there. And we were told, उस pull-up bar पे आपको उल्टा लटका दिया जाएगा. You'll be made to hang upside down, and the barber will come with a garden scissor and chop your hair, cut, like this. So we were all waiting. A whole night we ended up practicing to hang upside down. And early morning at 5:30 a.m., we see a horrendous looking figure appear from the bushes with a big garden scissor. We said, oh my God. And everyone is standing behind each other. No, you go first, you go first, you go first. It wasn't the barber. It was a gardener actually. And then the barber comes and we all were given haircuts, and we were, after haircuts, we were jogging back towards the barracks in formation of threes. Now, there was a very senior officer, Brigadier Ahmed Ali, might be knowing him, who incidentally had a very beautiful daughter as well. So one of the cadets was eyeing her. So as we crisscrossed these two, the cadet shouted, guys, the beauty and the beast. And that was it. Then the officer turned around. Come here, you jokers. Come here, all of you. Go on your hands for push-ups. So we went on our hands for push-ups. And then he stood there before us. He said, come on, now own up. Which of you dared to call my daughter a beast, huh? So we were like, calling his daughter a beast. So anyway, so uske baad फिर हमारी training हुई. Training के time पे there was one particular test where I failed in my first attempt, second attempt I failed, third attempt I failed. I was doing exceedingly well in all subjects. Everything I was super excellent. Everything else. But one particular test I kept failing repeatedly. So in the midterm break, all the cadets went home, and to meet their families. But I didn't get permission to go home. I stayed back in academy. I was there. I didn't get permission to go home. So I practiced for the test. There were extra punishments that I had. I had to complete all of them. And after the midterm break, the fourth attempt, what happened after training so hard? I failed again. Fifth attempt, I failed. Sixth attempt, and the final attempt, I failed once again. And then I was marched to the commandant of my academy. Sir, you also must be thinking, hello, chap, yeah. Pretty chap kept failing 6 attempts. And the commandant read my report card. Son, I have a report card. I see you are doing really well. But in one particular test, you've been failing repeatedly. What happened? I hope all's well. I told him, sir, when I came for my training, before the training, my father, actually it's a fact, my father had put a drill instructor behind me, a weapon training instructor behind me, a PT ustad behind me. So I was well equipped and well trained. I had done NCC when I had come to OTA, and I was from a military school. I told him, sir, when I came for my training, my father told me, son, remember, do well in academy, make us proud. But most importantly, always keep your performance consistent. And that is the reason I've been failing consistently in the subject. Halava chap yaar, pass karo. And I was given push-ups. Bhai, magar usi test mein, the year when I was leaving the army, I was posted in J&K for 2 years at the Indo-Pak border, where our post was 30 meters from the neighboring country, from Pakistan. And 3 years I was in Northeast. But Angela, if you have YouTube, if you can do screen sharing, there's a small 30-second video I would like to show you, if you may permit. Just YouTube, Muhammad Ali Shah, Republic Day Parade. The same test, I led the Republic Day Parade 2008 with 2 fractured legs, supported by a heavy, very heavy dose of painkillers. If you find that, Angela, just show that. With that, I would, after showing that video, I would end. Thank you very much. Because I don't have words after hearing such a wonderful talk by Brigadier Ahmed Ali.
Anil can do that.
Sorry?
I'm asking Anil if he can do that.
I think, Angela, it is already too late now. And Brigadier Saab must be now looking to
Brigadier Saab.
finish.
Hello.
Hey.
आवाज आ रही है?
So I think I'll end here. वो YouTube पे है, अगर आप YouTube पे देख लेंगे मोहम्मद अली शाह, parade over there. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Wonderful program. I must congratulate you, Brigadier Saab. It could not have been better than what it was. Very well spelled out the entire processes, and more than that, the very inspiring way that you have actually explained. Just a very small question that whether the background matters in the selection, especially in SSBs. I recall when I appeared for SSB for the second lieutenant for the agriculture farms at Bhopal headquarters. So the 3 persons that were selected out of 30 that we were present, all 3 had army background. So then we staged dharna there before the brigadier's office, and probably brigadier had some empathy for us. Then he called all of us to an auditorium. Then he explained that it is not that because they had the army backgrounds that we selected them. It is possible that they were better prepared. So what is there? Is there some some factors and weightage that the family background matters in these selections?
I'll give you my own case. As I told in my lecture that my father was a lawyer in Allahabad, and I did not come from an army background. But I was very inspired by a captain of the ordnance who used to come and pick up his brother from school every day. And I used to chat with him after school hours. He used to come in uniform. And I was so enamored with him that slowly, and then there was a Major K.H. Naqvi, who was our family friend, retired major, who was also a source of inspiration for me. But definitely one thing I would say that if you are from the services background, it is something like fish taking to water. If I've seen my father doing all that, talking in the mess, about army culture and about values, which you do talk in your homes, just as I'm sure your son would be talking about you, listening to you about your business. So something gets into the mind and that confidence level rises. But these days, you will be surprised that very ordinary family people are getting into NDA. When I was in Mahu in 2011, there was a rickshaw puller's son who qualified for NDA. His father was a rickshaw puller. I know I had an officer whose mother was a vegetable seller in Pune. She used to have a stall of vegetables on the street side. What do you say of that? I mean, it is the individual who actually promotes himself. But the takeoff becomes smoother if you have been privy to army life before going for SSB. But not every army officer's son has been selected. Not every army officer's son has made it to NDA despite having attended 2, 2, 3, 3 interviews and things like that. So that also happens. There is no soft corner for anybody. They look only for quality. And you must be wondering why there is a deficiency of army officers जबकि मुल्क में इतनी unemployment है, तो army में shortage क्यों है? One line answer. The army does not compromise on the quality. Army does not compromise on the quality, इसीलिए shortage है. The day they decide, all right, we'll have anybody coming and fill up the vacancy, you will have no deficiency in the army. But then the leaders are playing with lives. आप सोचिए कि कितनी बड़ी जिम्मेदारी होती है एक कैप्टन के पीछे. If he is a company commander, he has got 115 people life in his hand. गलत मोड़ दिया, सही ले गया, उल्टा मोड़ दिया, गया काम. तो इसलिए they are not compromising on those things, and that is why the deficiency continues.
2 more quick questions, Brigadier Saab, if it is not too late running the program. Whether the entry through NDA or CDS or SSB, which is more preferred entry at the officer level? Second is that for army jawans, what is most critical thing? Is it the physical build-up, is it mental, is it determination, is what do you test in that in a jawan's entry?
I'll answer your second question first. At the jawan's entry, we see mostly his physical strength. Because we make 100 people run together at one time, and then we see who came. We take only 5, 6 at a time. But you'll be surprised the quality of the question paper that he gets, if you ask me to sort now, if you tell me to do it now, I may fail also. For the Jawan, it's very difficult because now the educational standards of Jawan has also risen. So both the mental and the physical are reasonably tough. But of the two, physical is first, because if you cannot make the race in that stipulated time, for example, there is something called battle physical efficiency test. You have to do 2 miles in 12 minutes with your full battle gear and your rifle on your shoulder. I repeat, 2 miles in 12 minutes with your rifle on your shoulder and 5 kilo ka pittu peet ke piche. Right? If you cannot do that, you're failed. You're failed. But the beauty of army is that this is the only organization in the country which pays you salary for being physically fit. In US Army, I was member of the Indo-US Military Cooperation Group for 3 years when I was in Army headquarters. I was part of that team which used to interact with American Army. I realized they don't have PT period. I visited America a number of times. They say it is your problem when you how you want to be fit. So you'll find an American Army officer running at noon, in the late evenings, even in darkness he is running because he has to clear a test. So they test you every 3 months. In Indian Army, you have got PT parade every day, except Sunday. You have to do 1 hour of PT every morning at 6 o'clock, and then play games 1 hour every evening. So this is a boon that you are getting paid for being physically fit. That is the advantage of being army. What was your first question?
The preferred entry level is NDA, CDS, or SSB.
Oh, without batting an eyelid, I would say NDA. Without anything. You see, the advantage is
award.
It's a game who joined first, who joined earlier. As you keep progressing in life in army, age becomes a very important factor. Age and your physical fitness, it becomes very important factor. So NDA boys, many of them join around 17 years of age. So by the time they are 21, they are already second lieutenants. You get me? If you pick up the details of last 10 or 15 chiefs, nearly 100% are from NDA. Because the direct entry is 25 years. The limit is 25 years. So, जो दुनिया में इधर उधर भटक के आया कि भाई इधर नहीं हुआ, उधर नहीं हुआ, then they thought of joining army and they got selected. So they have lost on age. So if you are planning to send your child, send him to NDA, make him appear for NDA. That's the best entry. And एक और बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है NDA की जो camaraderie है, that course-mate relationship. You have got 6 courses running in NDA at one point of time. First term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term, sixth term. There are 6 terms which are going on concurrently in NDA. Do you know the size of NDA dining hall? 1,800 cadets sit down and have dinner together on one table. Imagine the size of that hall. So the camaraderie which is developed, you know each other so well. So even if my course mate is in Navy or he's in Air Force and he knows Ahmad Ali is there, he says, "Chalo, Ahmad Ali ko le aate hain." He will come and pick you up in his helicopter from wherever you are. So that friendship, the camaraderie which builds up amongst NDA, ex-NDA guys is too good. That is the need of the services, the understanding. So tomorrow, if like today, all the 3 service chiefs are from NDA. All the 3 chiefs, Air Force, Navy, and Army are from NDA. So when they sit down together, and they are from the same course, if I'm not wrong, am I right, Ali? Am I right? They are all from the same course.
Absolutely, sir. And absolutely, sir. You know, I am not from NDA. I failed the entrance exam to NDA, but I did join the army, went through OTA. And despite the fact that I am not from NDA, I am from OTA, and I would agree with Brigadier Ahmad Ali 100% that yes, undoubtedly, hands-on. There's no question. I mean, NDA better.
Imagine top 3 of each service, top people are from NDA and they are batchmates.
They're course-mates.
Understanding is fabulous. So I'm sure you'd like to put your son through. I'm forcing my nephew to join the NDA. So I'm sure you'll also love to put your son through. It's a beautiful service, ladies and gentlemen. I have faced bullets. I have picked up dead bodies. I have seen every possible operation that you can think of. I have seen death from very close angle. I have seen artillery shell blowing off in front of me. But ऊपर वाले को जिंदा रखना था तो आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ. The simple motto is, the day my bullet is made for me, I cannot escape it. I have seen in Sri Lanka. I have seen it in 12 years in Kashmir. I have seen it everywhere. So tell your children not to be afraid of death. It will come only once, whenever it will come. But the life is of pride. It is of immense pride. I cannot tell you the advantages that I have reaped by virtue of being in the army. Personal advantages that I have got, it is tremendous. I cannot go around recalling everything, but it's tremendous advantage to be in army.
Thank you, Brigadier Saab. In fact, last comment from me, which you may like to reply or need not. Many people say that after retirement for army officers, it is very difficult to adjust in the civilian life. Everywhere they see corruption, no discipline and all that. So how uncomfortable it has been for you?
Fortunately, before I hung the boot, I was in Aligarh Muslim University for 5 years. So I saw the civil life very closely. आप यकीन मानिए जलील साहब के in my 35 years of service, I never saw an RTI application. RTI is not, Army is not exempted from RTI. But nobody ever writes an RTI application. The trust is implicit in the commanding officer. The commanding officer can do no wrong. That is the philosophy which guides everybody. And they have so much of trust in his leadership, even if he tells them ram into the jaws of death, everybody will go into the jaws of death. Whereas in civil, I don't want to comment anything beyond this, but life is very difficult, very different. But fortunately, I managed to adjust myself. Not that I went about joining them in whatever wrong was going on, but then I also adjusted myself, knowing fully well that this is not army. So unless you bend yourself, you start looking at a different way at things, you'll run into difficulties. So best is that don't pick up the gauntlet at every issue. I mean.
Okay, over to Angela. Thank you, Brigadier Saab. Who would say propose vote of thanks? Khalid or you?
So you may do it.
Huh?
You may do it. You're here since you're here.
So I think let me place my appreciation for the place on record my appreciation for the very lovely session. I could not be present by video, but I was listening all through. Some work I was doing simultaneously, but having done 2 years in NCC, so naturally my attachment for army is and appreciation and admiration is very high. And also failing to clear SSB, you know, that charm remains throughout your life, because if you had made it, then probably that attraction goes. So coupled with that, I must say that it's a very, very beautiful career that Indian Army offers, of course, including the Air Force and the Navy. So it's time that we must encourage our youth, especially when we normal COVID times, when the life returns. We must hold some sessions at the universities and colleges, as we were doing in Western Uttar Pradesh, reaching out to some colleges to inspire the students to actually look for career in armed forces. We can be more elaborate in our plans of reaching out to all these institutions. And we'll take the help of Major Shah, Brigadier Saab, your guidance, and some other people from paramilitary forces that are with us. So I think that plan we would like to execute, and surely that it's not only the career that one makes, it's also the advantage that community gets, because there's a lot of respect. So if one person of our community from one mohalla or city is in the army, and rises in the career, probably a lot of respect for the community is developed. So there are a lot of collateral advantages of that, and definitely I think this is one program we must focus on. So thank you very much, Brigadier Saab, for a very lovely session, and I look forward to more such sessions, and I'm sure that recording of the program has been done. It should be circulated, and also the 3 chancellors of the Muslim dominated campuses, our university, that Integral University, Azam campus, which is the largest among all, and then the Marward. So all the three chancellors will request that they should circulate. Maybe this recording can be shared with them with the request that it should be circulated. So thank you very much. Thank you all for being with us, and thank you, Major Shah, for your interventions.
Finally, if any of the candidate wants to speak to me one-on-one and clarify anything about joining the army, please note my number. My cell number is 81939568786. I repeat, 81939568786. And I'm also on email, ahem_ali@rediffmail.com. It will be a pleasure hearing from you. If I can guide you further into your mission, it will be a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Asaf.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Asaf, there's a meeting.
Yeah, I think he's left.
Angela, if you can, that 28-second video, sir, that would really motivate the youngsters who are aspiring over here to, because that's the parade, Rajpath Way, before saluting the President of India. Angela, if you can get that on YouTube, it's a 30-second video.
I'll just try.
Why don't you put it tomorrow on the site of Impar? Ali?
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Put it on the Impar site that everybody wants.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for having me. It's our honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.